to maybe tutorials, and there are some programs like in the health science areas and things like that where they have to do lab work, so all of those students are on campus, but they're just getting ready. It's almost the end of this term, so they have a week holiday break next week, so it'll be very quiet on campus. But yeah, you certainly notice that there's not everybody around, but much like you guys with everything being online, it gives people a lot more flexibility and whether they still come onto campus or not if they can. But yeah, it's, you know, more classes happened on campus this year with a lot of the relaxation, and Brisbane's still doing pretty well, so we don't have too many restrictions at the moment. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, that is good. It's good for all our students, you know.
Yes, well, it'll be even nicer when our government decides to open the international borders and allow our international students to enter Australia. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
For next year?
Yes, that's what we're hoping.
Yes. Well, perhaps we will go back to campus next year, so we will see.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit strange after almost 2 years of not being there.
Yes. It will be strange for the teachers and also for the students, because not always it's not the same. It's different. And you get accustomed to be at home.
Well, you don't have to battle that horrible traffic, so that's always a good thing.
Yes, that's horrible.
Yeah, I imagine everybody's really enjoyed not having to worry about the commute.
Recording in progress.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Do we wait some minutes still? We have 41 students, more or less, 38 students.
Yes, and you and
we can wait some minutes. Sergio, esperamos 6:05, ¿te parece?
Sí, claro, no hay ningún problema.
Okay, para ver si aumenta un poquito el número. Estaba a tope.
Recording stopped.
One minute more. We have 46 students.
It's very nice that everyone's tuning in on a Wednesday evening, so thank you very much. I guess that's one good thing when you're in lockdown or there's not many places to go, you're sort of forced to be at home. So it does work well sometimes for watching online presentations.
Recording in progress.
Okay, let's begin. 47 students. Do you think it's okay?
Yes, absolutely. Let's go, Marcy. Thank you.
Okay, I begin.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, chicos. Hello, good evening, dear students. The Universidad de Lima and the Faculty of Business and Economics are undergoing a permanent process of internationalization.
Great.
Nice to see you back.
Thanks, Marcy, and great to be online with everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to me talk a little bit about the University of Queensland and the available study options that we have within the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law. And I do hope that you're all staying safe, and I hope that you're keeping well and healthy. And that you've been doing okay in this crazy world that is still with us at the moment with COVID. It's funny, usually at this time of the year, I would actually be in Lima, and it's very strange doing everything online as opposed to doing it in person, but thankfully we have technology that allows us to connect, even though I'm here at the St Lucia campus for the University of Queensland and you guys are all at home wherever you might be around your home or at a friend's place or wherever you might be. So it's my pleasure really to give you a little bit of an overview about Brisbane, which is where I'm located, and where the university is obviously located, an introduction to the University of Queensland. I will talk a little bit about obviously the double degree options that we have for the undergraduate students, and I'm also going to touch a little bit on postgraduate options because I know we've probably got quite a little bit of a diverse audience, and because I'm not 100% sure of where you might be within your program, whether you're near the start, whether you're near the end or in the middle, I also like to give a few little options if you're thinking about maybe future study and things like that. And of course I will touch on how much things cost, because I know that is a really big factor in your decision making process. So hopefully I cover most of your questions. Please feel free, there is a little chat box. Obviously, if you have questions that you think of throughout the session and you want to type them in there, we'll leave the questions until the end. It's difficult for me to multitask, but if you think of anything and you want to write it in the little chat box, Marcy and I will be able to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So I thought I would start with a little bit about what the situation is with COVID in Australia. Maybe you watch the world news, maybe not. It's always really interesting about how different countries are coping with a global pandemic. And I certainly will say that Australia, being an island situated by a lot of water, for us it was easier to lock down our borders than it was for a lot of countries. So we have been pretty much locked down in regards to not allowing a lot of international travellers into Australia, or we do have some movement of people going out, but mostly we've kept our borders closed since the pandemic started last year. And even internally within Australia, we have often had to close our internal borders to even different states and territories, depending on the outbreak and what was happening. But I do know that we are very fortunate and we have been very lucky that because we've been able to limit the amount of people coming in to Australia, we've done really well with the pandemic. And for those of you that were online right at the beginning, and I was telling Marcy that we don't really have many restrictions. I do have to carry a mask with me. We do, of course, have to keep to the social distancing and the hygiene and everything, but there are no curfews for us. The shops are all open, especially in Queensland. Melbourne and Sydney, a little bit of a different situation for them. They're a lot larger larger cities, but we've been dealing quite well with things as they arise in Brisbane. So that's really great news, especially in terms of when you're looking at your overseas study options, and if you're looking at a country that's done well or maintained, or while we haven't completely not had cases of COVID, we certainly have, we've been able to keep on top of that with contact tracing and things like that. So that's really good news. The only downside is that we do still have our international borders closed. So for those of you that are thinking about your future study options, and we're hoping as we get vaccinated, and we're aiming for, let's say, 80% of all Australians that are eligible to be vaccinated, we're hoping there'll be greater greater freedom when they open the borders. And they do talk about bubbles and allowing a bit of travel, but at the moment we're still waiting for our government to really confirm what's going to happen going ahead. So what does that mean for you as an international student who would like to study with the University of Queensland? We do still have students studying their programs and their subjects with us, even if they're not in Brisbane or in Australia. We have students that are doing their studies online, like you guys are. Obviously, if you're studying and you're at home in your living room or wherever you might be because you're not going to campus, that is what a lot of our students are doing, and a very large portion of international students that are still studying with UQ and a range of other Australian institutions are doing all of their study online. Now, we certainly understand it's not ideal. It's probably not what you really want to do. And I know that for some of you, that will be a big factor in what you decide to do with your study going forward. So we're hoping that our borders will be open to international students from July next year. So that's the start of our semester 2, but we're not 100% sure. We are reliant on the government and the different states and territories to make those decisions. So while I would like to hope that things are going to return to a little bit more of what it was like before COVID, we are not 100% sure of when those borders are really going to be open in 2022, or whether the situation is more likely in 2023. So we do try and keep everybody updated where we can. There's information on our website. That's that little link that you can see at the bottom there about the coronavirus. I'll give you my contact details at the end, and we really are just dependent on waiting for a lot of advice to come through from our government. So hopefully once those borders are open and you've made a commitment that you would love to be over here in Australia and in Brisbane, this is where you would be studying. So the picture that you can see in front of you is our beautiful Brisbane River, and you can see the little map of Australia there. Hopefully you've done a little bit of research in looking at what Australia is actually like, and it is really such a beautiful country. That's our beautiful Brisbane River with our City Cat, which is a fast network of ferries that go up and down the river. A great way to spend a weekend if you like to go up and down the river to experience everything that we have. You can see the beautiful bougainvilleas there. And this time of year, the jacarandas are blooming, much like they do in South America as well. So we're very fortunate that Brisbane really is one of the most beautiful cities in Australia. And you can see that we're actually the 3rd largest. So still a relatively small population. About 2.4 million people call Brisbane home. So when you put that in context to the size of Lima and some of your major cities, it is really quite small. But a wonderful thing is we don't have too much of the same traffic issues that you guys do. Pollution, not as much. And I think, some similarities that I always find between Lima and Brisbane is we're on the same when it comes to the weather. So we are in spring, like you guys are. We have the same humidity. It's that subtropical climate. So there are a lot of similarities when it comes to the actual weather situation, but we are a much smaller city. So we're very multicultural. That Brisbane sign is actually a real Brisbane sign that's located over at South Bank, which is a wonderful precinct where there's a man-made beach, and I have a picture of that on another slide. But it really is quite a dynamic and very vibrant city to be in. Lots of things to do. Everything that you would expect from a city you can find here, although probably your largest differences are that we don't have our shops and our things open really late at night. So we, being a smaller population, we don't have the opening hours that you guys do or you did before COVID. So you'd probably notice that was a big difference, but Brisbane really is very beautiful and very multicultural. Now, one of the things I should mention, because you may not know, but Brisbane is actually going to be the host city of the Olympic Games in 2032. So that's really exciting for us. We're very excited that we will be hosting the Olympics and the Paralympic Games. It is still a few years away, but really exciting. And depending on where you are in your journey and when you decide that you want to come on over to Australia, you can be sure that Brisbane, it's going to all be happening here in the lead up to those games as well. And it is one of the 10 most livable cities in the world with very mild temperatures. So hopefully that's something that excites a few of you, especially if you love watching the sports or the games on TV, knowing that that will be in Brisbane in 10 years' time is really exciting. And that picture there that you can see, that's our man-made beach over at South Bank. So of course Australia has wonderful beaches, and the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast are not too far away from Brisbane, but you can even experience some of that wonderful beachy experience when you're in the city and you don't have to leave. So enough about Brisbane as a destination. It really is wonderful, and I am a Queenslander and born and bred in Brisbane, but this is where the University of Queensland is located, and we're a very large and comprehensive university. There's some statistics on the screen in front of you. 55,000 students that study from about 135 different countries around the world. We are known as a research intensive university, so we do everything from undergraduate degrees to master degrees. We do study abroad and exchange opportunities, and then have a very large research higher degree programs as well. And you can see a large alumni network spread all over the globe. Now, we don't really teach any of our programs offshore. Our 3 campuses are located here in Queensland. Where I am today is our beautiful St Lucia campus, and you can see my little background there. That is one of our sandstone buildings that we have, and we are over 100 years old, so we are very comprehensive in the programs and the reputation that we have. Now, if that is something that excites you and you're looking forward to being here, this is an aerial shot of our St Lucia campus, and I'm in one of those buildings that you can see, but also you can see the Brisbane River that borders around the campus. You can see we love our track and field. You can see the tennis courts in the background. We actually have 2 swimming pools. We have residential accommodation for our students on campus, one purpose-built that has just been finished, which is pretty exciting. And once those borders are open, they will be looking to certainly fill those new residences on campus as well. But it really is like a mini little city, and you would do all of your program and your courses here at St Lucia if you were to join us once those borders are open. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea. And in the background there you can see the Brisbane city area, the CBD. We're only about 7 kilometres away from the actual city of Brisbane. We're not based right in the city simply because we're a very large campus, so it would not have been possible to actually have all these wonderful facilities if we were right in the centre city, but you can see that we're not too far away, which is great. Now, there's a whole myriad of reasons why students choose the University of Queensland to study. Probably our global reputation is certainly one of those driving factors, as well as being located in Brisbane and really having such a beautiful environment. But if it's important for you as well and you're looking at institutions that are ranked in the top 100 or the top 50 in the world, you can be sure that the University of Queensland meets that criteria. So I'll let you read some of the stats in front of you. It's on our website, and you can certainly go and have a look at these global rankings to double check, if you would like to, that the university really is listed there. But that's something that we pride ourselves on when we do a lot of research that helps us with those rankings, and we are often doing a lot of cutting edge research with things that are happening around the world. So very proud that the University of Queensland is ranked in the top 50. But as I am from the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law, I do also need to mention a few things about our own discipline rankings. And I know that online some of you will be from your careers in business, maybe it's more economics. I not sure if any of you are from an accounting background. Maybe some of you are even from different backgrounds and you're looking at postgraduate study, but you are really interested in maybe getting more into business or economics. So we're very well known, and not only in Australia, but in that top 50 ranking or top 100 for our own business disciplines, and programs that perform really well, academics that are recognised for national teaching awards and are very passionate about what they teach. So I feel very fortunate. I've worked at UQ for quite a long time. I'm also a UQ graduate and feel very comfortable recommending the wonderful programs and the academics that we have teaching at the University of Queensland. So a great reputation, a wonderful network of alumni all around the world, reputation that is built on research, but we are also, of course, working and doing a lot of things in the real world. So not everything you do is research, but you get wonderful state-of-the-art facilities. And we do like to make sure that you get a balance between your academic study environment and also making sure that you do get some free time to do some fun things as well. So we include all of that in terms of some really wonderful advantages that we have at the University of Queensland. So let's talk a little bit about the double degree opportunity. So I'm hoping at least a few of you are thinking that this is something that you would like to do. So it's only available with the undergraduate programs, or that I'm going to talk about with the undergrad programs. So everything that we do in business, economics and law as a bachelor degree is listed in front of you. I guess slightly different in how you structure your career. So you do a Bachelor of International Business, or you do a Bachelor of Economics, or a Bachelor of Accounting, or a Bachelor of Marketing. We do the same sort of thing, but we put them under different named programs. So you have a Bachelor of Business Management, where you can major in international business or marketing. You can do a Bachelor of Commerce for those of you that are doing accounting. And for those of you that are in economics, then it is our Bachelor of Economics program and a major in one of the listed areas. So it's really the ones you see there in purple that we've actually listed under the double degree program. The other degrees are ones that we also do for standard programs, but they're not the ones linked under the double degree program. And you can see that under each of those headings, the little dot points are the majors that you would do within one of those programs. So when we structured and put together the opportunities for the double degree, it was based on the fact that you would complete at least 5 semesters or 2.5 years of your career at the University of Lima first, because I looked at all of those studies and then we mapped that into the remaining duration for the University of Queensland program. So then you'll see you do your first 2.5 years or your 5 semesters, and then you would be doing at least 1.5 years, 3 semesters of your program with the University of Queensland. Now, we have some students that choose to do 2 years. That's an option, but for those of you that really want to get your program done and get back home, then you're looking at least a minimum of 3 semesters at the University of Queensland. And I'll talk a little bit about when we start our semesters as well. Now, under the double degree arrangement, there are likely to be subjects that you need to complete when you go back home in order to meet your Uni Lima degree requirements, and that works out nicely in around about 5 years. However, everybody's a little bit individual depending on what you do with us, depending on what you've got left to do in your program at the University of Lima. Marcy and I will work with you to confirm what your study duration and your mapping of the program will actually look like. So we do all of that for you to make sure you get everything done, and then at the end of all of your studies you will graduate with both a UQ degree as well as your Uni Lima degree. So that's just a little bit of a nutshell about how we work with the planning. Now, I know for some of you, you might say, well, what if I've done more than 5 semesters? So maybe I'm in my 6th semester, or what if I'm in my 7th semester? Then I think what you need to think about is, do you just want to finish all of your undergraduate program at home because you're almost towards the end of that, knowing that you would have to do at least 3 semesters at UQ? But it's really up to you, because we do have postgraduate master opportunities, so that may also be something to think about depending on when you're sort of aiming to come to Brisbane, and everyone will be a little bit different, so we can certainly discuss all of those different requirements. Now, I think I've highlighted perhaps quite a few good reasons about choosing the University of Queensland. Remember that global reputation. What about academics that are passionate about their particular fields of study? philosophy? What about academics that really win a lot of national teaching awards because of the great work that they do? All wonderful, highlightable areas, and keeping in mind that all done here at the beautiful St Lucia campus in Brisbane. But most of our academics in the business school are also PhD qualified, so not only do they research everything that they research, they bring back into the classroom. A lot of them are consulting with industry as well, so you're getting different perspectives from those academics as well that are teaching you. And of course you get to meet some wonderful people from all around the world. So there's a lot of great reasons why you might decide to study your business program or your economics program or your accounting program at the University of Queensland. One thing I haven't mentioned, which is also really important, is that of course with our business school program, so that's our Bachelor of Business Management and our Bachelor of Commerce, we have the AACSB and the EQUIS accreditation, and they are quality worldwide stamps really on the product and the quality of the education that you're getting at the University of Queensland. So the AACSB is the North American recognition and EQUIS is the European. And that might help some of you, especially for students that choose to go and pursue their masters and their PhDs in other countries, knowing that your UQ program in business and commerce has that stamp of quality is really important. So I should mention that one because it's really important. Now, I do have a couple of slides about online. I thought I should highlight the online environment. However, I know that for a lot of our South American students, this is not really what you want to do. Completely understand that. It's not ideal for a lot of our students. You want to be here in Brisbane. You want to experience the Australian lifestyle, and I completely understand that. And I do also understand that there is a 15-hour time difference. So it's coming up for 9:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, and of course it's 6:30 on Wednesday evening for you guys. So I know that having that large time difference is not great, but I thought I would still highlight a couple of things about the online experience, because you may decide that if UQ is your passion and you want to start studying with us next year, it's good to know that we're still offering our courses online. So that might be an option for you until those borders open and you can actually travel here. So we do have a whole network of support. As I mentioned, I think about at least 80% of our international students are still outside of Australia, and that's a really large proportion of students. So we have to have really good support networks for our students to get involved. So the university runs a lot of workshops that are happening. They do things online, but also in person, of course, for the students that are here, but you don't miss out on anything. And our careers and employability team is running a careers event this week, which is wonderful. There's ways to network and meet other students that might be in your city or in other countries close by as well. But we make sure you have everything that you need. You know, we can get in touch by Zoom or WhatsApp or email. We can still stay in touch even though it's not ideal, but UQ has certainly developed a lot of resources to assist our students before you even commence your program, and then of course while you're studying. And we run all of our online orientation events as well, so you don't miss out on hearing from our academics and getting all of that information. And I think that's really important. But I do completely understand it's not ideal, but if that is something that you are thinking about, then by all means know that UQ will take care of you as much as we possibly can in that online space and offering support. Counselling and wellbeing, absolutely. A diverse careers network here to still talk to our students. There are still virtual internships and a range of things that you can do online when you're studying your program as well. So not the same as participating in a real life internship in a workplace setting, but certainly having something online. The library's doing great things as well to make sure all of our students are still really connected. And we have a range of other programs that are running for our students as well. So you can still get involved with all of your academic study, but even if you wanted to get involved in online volunteering, entrepreneurial activities, UQ has transitioned a lot of what we were doing on campus to that experience where you can actually get that online. So understand it's not for everybody, but please be assured that we're doing as much as we can to ensure our online students are connected and getting the most out of their experience. We also transitioned last year, and this year we've worked really hard to make sure that you have a lot of connections with students as well, and the peer support network is really important. So Virtual Village, there's a whole website dedicated to the UQ Life where they're running a range of events in some countries, unfortunately not in Latin America, but trying to connect people through study bubbles where you can network and meet with other students in your city. We do have a great alumni base in Lima as well who are always willing to reach out and connect with our students as well. There's clubs and societies that are happening in that online space, and I know everyone is a little bit Zoom fatigued at the moment, but you've all decided to join me here today, so hopefully you're still surviving okay with everything that you're doing via Blackboard and via Zoom. And this is just to highlight some of the things that they're doing in the virtual village. So drop-in sessions, consultations, finding friends, linking you up to services. So there's ways that you can reach out and talk to people in terms of all of that. And as I mentioned, events even running online where they're doing a range of things, as well as for some students who are on the campus. So I think that covers most of the basics, I guess, when it comes to the online, and hopefully when you're here with us doing the on-campus. But I do want to then move through a couple of things that you really should need to know about applying, because regardless of whether you're coming to Brisbane or you're starting your program online, there are still some deadlines and information that I need to provide to you. So UQ has 2 commencement times per year. Semester 1 is in late February, early March, depending on the calendar, and semester 2 is usually always towards the end of July. It does not matter if you start in that semester 1 or you start in semester 2. Our programs are designed so that you're not disadvantaged by starting in either of those semesters. So for those of you who are planning, those of you who are thinking longer term, it might be July next year. If it's really about the borders and making sure that you can get to Australia, it might be more 2023. So it's always good just to think and keep that in mind in terms of when those semesters actually start. And when you start, I would recommend that you would need to apply to UQ at least, let's say, 3 months or 4 months. It's usually the visa that takes the longest amount of time. And I understand that even if you start your program online, you actually still need to go through the motions of applying for a visa, even though it's probably not going to be granted until those borders actually open and we allow students into the country. But there is a whole process behind that, and you do really need to factor all of your planning into that. So keep in mind that there are academic entry requirements that we would look at for entry. And hopefully you've passed all of your subjects with your studies, and then there's the English language proficiency requirements, which we often get a lot of questions about. So the most recognisable test would be your IELTS. That's the academic IELTS, not the general IELTS. So for those of you who might be thinking about that, keep that in mind in terms of that area. Now at the moment, our tests are usually valid for at least 2 years. We have extended that slightly while we're in a global pandemic, but we're not 100% sure how long. So 2 years is generally your rule for when you might have done an IELTS or a TOEFL to when you commence at UQ. So we'll keep that in mind for the moment. For those of you that are doing a TOEFL, and sometimes that is actually the more easier to access, and I know in lockdown as well it was very difficult to get to a testing centre and to be able to do these things. So internet-based TOEFL is accepted. We also now accept the home edition. So I haven't put it on that slide, but we do also accept the home edition TOEFL with the same sort of scores, and that might help you if you had to do that and it wasn't possible to do an IELTS or the internet-based TOEFL. I know that some of you may be from international high schools, might have been in Peru, it could have been in the States or somewhere else. Maybe you've done the International Baccalaureate. We do also look at the English from your studies that you might have done, and they're valid for 5 years. And if you would like to check out any of this sort of information, that little web link that you can see down the bottom goes through a wide range of UQ acceptable English language tests. And if you're in doubt, you'd give the documents to Marcy and she will send them over to me, and UQ will verify what we need to. Absolutely. Now, for those of you that are thinking about applying to the University of Queensland, you can apply directly. However, that can sometimes get a little bit confusing with all of the documents that are required, the translations that are required. So we do also have a dedicated education agent located in Lima, who are also able to assist you with applying to the University of Queensland, and I can send you their details if that's something that you would like to look into in the future. But it's quite straightforward in a lot of ways as long as you know what sort of things you have to get together. Okay, so let's also cover off on a little bit of cost, because I know that that is certainly an area where you're going to be looking at how much does it actually cost. And of course, I'll touch a little bit on that online versus the on-campus as well. So on the screen in front of you, it will give you a little bit of an idea about the cost of living. So this is in a perfect world. Hopefully once COVID has settled down, once those international borders to Australia are open, you need to budget for the things that you're budgeting for at the moment while you're at home. So you need to think about the cost of living, for your food, for your accommodation, mobile phones, transport, all of that sort of thing. So that slide gives you a little bit of an approximate cost. Being a student, you do get some student discounts, which is always wonderful. Public transport, when you go to the movies, different venues do different pricing for students, which is great. So you'll get a student ID card as well when you're in Brisbane, and you would use that when you're out and about. If you are really keen to have more of a detailed breakdown, I've put two different URL links down the bottom, the Future Students International Cost of Living, and Australia also produces an insider guides. It's a newsletter that comes out, but their website is really helpful because it actually also has a cost of living calculator for Australia. So if you're really interested in doing some little bit of research, then I would encourage you to have a look on those websites to get more of a breakdown. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how much does it cost to actually study your program. Okay, so these are the 2022 fees that I've put on the screen in front of you. Now, I did only include the fees for the bachelor degree, but it is very similar for our master's programs as well as our undergrad programs. So for those of you that are doing a career in an area like marketing or international business, you would be going into our business management program. For those of you that are doing the accounting, that's the commerce area, and those of you that are doing economics, that would go into the economics program. So the $43,200 that you can see in front of you, this is Australian dollars. So I would encourage you to get your little currency converter to have a look, and especially for those of you that are wondering what the exchange rate is with the US dollar versus the Australian dollar, that's always a good place to start, because I know that that sometimes makes a little bit more sense when you're working out a budget. So remember, Australian dollars, not US dollars, but good for a comparison in that rate. Now, you'll also see that I've put down the indicative figure of $43,200 is an indicative amount for 2 semesters, and that's based on doing 8 subjects. So we do 4 subjects every semester, and that would be a full-time workload. So in one semester, halve that cost, okay? But $43,200 is what you would pay on average for your 2 semesters of study. But remember, if you're going to do the double degree and you're going to do at least 3 semesters, you do still have to add on another semester of tuition. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your numbers. So $43,200 is the cost for 2 semesters, but you'll need to add another semester onto that to work out roughly what your 3 semesters would be. Those fees will go up slightly again in 2023. They go up every year, unfortunately, although we did have a little bit of a freeze for 1 or 2 years, but just keep in mind that those fees may increase every year of study. Now, what we did also offer to students that chose to study with us online, the University of Queensland did offer a 12.5% rebate towards your tuition fees. It's not a lot. It is something, I guess, if you think about it, but I do understand Once again, we know that a lot of students, it's just not ideal to be studying online. So if we're planning for the future and you're planning for when those borders reopen, then the indicative fee that you see in front of you gives you that sort of rough guideline for your tuition. And this is tuition only. Remember, the slide before was for living expenses. So you've got to think about your living expenses, and then you also have to think about your tuition. And this slide is just for your tuition. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about planning and how much you might have to take into consideration. Now, I know a lot of you as well are going to ask me about scholarships. I was hoping to have some really good news for you, but nothing's been quite confirmed yet. But let's talk a little bit about scholarship opportunities. The University of Queensland does have scholarships available. Now, I will say that the majority of scholarships that are awarded by UQ are based on academic excellence. And I do understand not everyone is academically brilliant. I certainly wasn't. But unfortunately, GPA calculations are looked at very closely when scholarships are being awarded. So keep that in mind when you're doing a little bit of research and you're having a look on our website. So that scholarships.uq.edu.au website is great. That should be your starting point to have a look at any scholarship opportunities that UQ is offering. They are updated yearly. My colleagues in another department have confirmed scholarships that they will be offering in 2022 for students from a range of different countries around the world. And you can also see in front of you that our faculty, Business, Economics and Law, has our Global Leaders scholarships. And we do have some dedicated scholarships that we have for our Latin American students. You are more than welcome to apply for those scholarships. They are competitive because they're either 50% or 100% of your tuition. But yeah, competitive. We have a closing date at the end of November for semester one next year. And if we don't award all of those, then I usually have a second round for students that would like to commence in July. So once again, please double check on our website, and I'm hoping that in the future I might have some dedicated scholarships just for our University of Lima partnership, but I'm still waiting for confirmation to come through on that. So if I get some really good news, I will certainly share that with Marcy, and it will be promoted if I'm successful in getting some money towards Uni Lima dedicated scholarships. But these are the ones at the moment, so please have a look on the website, and that will then give you an indication of closing dates and when you would need to apply for any scholarships. So I think that covers most of the things in terms of what I wanted to discuss with the costing, the scholarships, the program information, the online experience, and I do just want to talk a little bit about my colleagues in our career services team. So we do a lot around work integrated learning. We do a lot with internship opportunities, work experience programs, mentoring. All of this is done through my lovely colleagues that you see on front of you that run our career services team. So we like to make sure that you are going to be prepared for the jobs of the future and whatever your ideas are going forward. So this is a wonderful team and that actually provides some wonderful opportunities for our international students as well as our domestic students. And they are doing everything online, just like all of our other online courses and programs that are running. But if you are interested in finding out more about the services that we provide in this particular remit, then we've got some wonderful information on our website. Now, I do need to mention that the team doesn't find you a job. That's not what they are designed to do, but they're certainly there to assist you with looking for work experience opportunities, with internship options. They run the student work experience program. The work integrated learning is embedded into a lot of our undergraduate and postgraduate courses. There are other options around student staff projects and partnerships that are running. For those of you that love entrepreneurship and really getting involved with startups and new ideas, we do that through ventures as well. So UQ has some wonderful opportunities that are available to our students, and a lot of these are at no additional cost. That's all part of the UQ experience. And as I mentioned, a lot of it happening online, not just on campus. And they've gotten better at everything they do since we, the pandemic sort of started last year. And for those of you that are towards the end of your program, I'm just going to do a little bit of a mention about our postgraduate programs. And obviously, because I am from business, economics and law, these are really the only programs I talk about on a day-to-day basis. I know that some of you might be thinking, well, what if I don't want to do business? That's not really my area. Well, I do want to mention that UQ does have a lot of programs, so it is very comprehensive. So while I'm only really talking about business, economics and what we do in the law area, for those of you who are interested in UQ and exploring options in engineering, information technology, anything around the health sciences or psychology or anything like that, you can go to the UQ website to get that sort of information. But these are just the programs that we do at the master's level in the business, economics and tourism and law areas. So a few little double degrees there that we do at postgrad, and then a whole range of master's degrees. Now, most of these masters, you can get them done in 1.5 or 2 years, depending on your actual background from your bachelor degree. And if you're keen to check things out, please head on to the UQ website where you can get some more information. Yeah, I think that covers most of it. And costing is very similar to how much we charge on an annual fee base compared to our undergraduate programs. And then this is my contact details for those of you that might like to get in touch, whether it's anytime this year or next year. Please write down my details. Email is the best way to connect with me, but of course, if you then want to have a Zoom conversation or you want to ask me questions via WhatsApp, then we can do all of that as well. But those are my details, and the best way to reach me at the moment is via email. So that's L for Laura, Hassett is my surname, at BEL for business, economics and law.uq.edu.au. And if you would love to follow UQ on Facebook or Instagram, I think on Twitter, they're all over the place. Definitely on any of the socials, you can certainly do that. If you want to have a little bit more of a breakdown, look at the programs that we do in our faculty, you can head to the bell.uq.edu.au website, and that will also give you lots of great information. So Marcy, that concludes my presentation. Hopefully, it looks like everybody is still there. Hopefully no one has fallen asleep. That's always a good thing. And I think there were maybe a question or two that came through. But Marcy, did you want to say anything more as well?
Every student that would like to have more information about the requirements of the Universidad de Lima, before being part of UQ, you can write to my email. I will put it here in the chat for you. And every paper that you receive, any question that you will like to have or do you want to do, there's no problem. You can write me. I will be answering you back with all the requirements from UQ, and I'm always talking with Laura. So whatever paper you have, you would like to ask to Laura about the English certificate, or whatever requirement you would like to know about Ulima, you can write me. You can write this in the chat. You have my email. So welcome.
Great. And Marcy, I think we've got a couple of questions as well. So I'll start with Claudia had a question about, she's doing marketing as her career. And yeah, what possibilities of studies can you apply for if you're in your last semester of study? So Claudia, if you're almost ready to graduate, well, really, I guess your options are completely up to you. If you are looking at postgraduate study, we would love you to think about the University of Queensland, absolutely. You do need to graduate and complete all of your career, so that's absolutely a must to get into a postgraduate program. We do look at your grade point average from your completed studies. And I guess, Claudia, you really just would need to decide what would you like to do with further studies. Do you want to stay with marketing? And your marketing degree is actually pretty comprehensive. So my advice would be, if you're looking at UQ and maybe our Master of Business, for example, we do also offer marketing as a major, but we do advertising and we do some other really interesting majors. So you might want to look at diversifying your career outcomes, and I would be thinking, you know, what might complement your marketing bachelor degree, and that's then what I would be thinking about for your postgraduate studies. I'm not sure what the job situation is like in Peru at the moment, but of course I will assume that you're either doing your internship or you're working, and you might decide to continue working for a little bit longer until the pandemic settles down, and then you work out what you want to do with postgraduate studies. So that's what I would be thinking if I was in your situation, Claudia, really just having a look at what you want to do if you do want to go on and do postgraduate studies, and then what's going to complement your marketing degree. You can really do anything in business in addition to what you've done with your marketing. Certainly one of the job areas we're finding that is in high demand is anything to do with business analytics and information systems. And we do information systems in our Master of Business as well as our Master of Commerce. And we've just launched our brand new online Master of Business Analytics program this September. So yeah, you've got a lot of options to choose from. I would just encourage you to do a little bit of research about what you might want to do. And Gonzalo, you also had a question for me. Now, I know that you sent this to me directly, but I think it's a really good question, so I'm going to share it with everybody else. Gonzalo asked if there was an entrance exam that was required for UQ, and there isn't. The only thing that you need to prepare if you would like to start at the University of Queensland is I need a copy of all of your academic transcripts because I need to have a look at what your final grade point average is, or your cumulative grade point average, because we do have that entry requirement, and the English language requirement is the other one. There's no interview requirement, there's no other exam, entrance exam that you would have to do, nothing like that. We just look at your grades and whether you've met the English requirement as well. So that one is pretty easy in terms of entry requirements.
And Gonzalo, if you would like, you can send me your English certificate. I will send it to Laura, and I will give Laura also your grades, your academic record, so we will know if you have the opportunity to be at UQ. I'm sure it will be, but let's begin with your papers. Okay?
Absolutely. And then Ariana, you also had a good question as well. So if you start your studies online, would you be able to travel to Australia once the international borders open? That is what we're all hoping for, Ariana, absolutely. So the university and certainly my dean has committed to offering our subjects and our program in external mode next year. So that means we will continue to offer our courses online. So let's say you decide to start in the February semester, you will start your program in the online mode, absolutely. If those borders are then open in July and you can travel to Brisbane, yes, we would love you to come over, and you would then transition to probably a little bit of a hybrid, because we're probably still going to teach courses in online mode and on campus, but you might still have some online that you're doing, and you can use the library here and use the facilities like a lot of our students are doing, but you'll probably find that tutorials and your pracs might be done in person, so it'll be a bit of a hybrid. But yes, we are hoping, and we have our fingers crossed, that the plan will be even students who start online will be able to get here at some point, and you would just continue with your classes as normal. So hopefully that works out. Alexia, you've also got a question for me. If you would like to apply for postgrad study, so your master's degree, Yep, that's exactly right. So at the moment, we do have one arrangement with Ulima for postgrad double degree. That's with their MBA program. But if you are just keen to apply directly to the University of Queensland for one of our master's programs, you can certainly do that. And you can get in touch with me and I can provide you with details for LAE, who are the agent that we use, or I'll give you advice on how to apply. So yep, all of that is just done directly with the University of Queensland. So Alexia, hopefully that answers that one. And Valentina, you had a great question as well. I do appreciate that. Really good question. So scholarships, Valentina's actually asking what sort of grade point average would you need to get a scholarship? So as a minimum sort of requirement for the scholarships that we have in our faculty, traditionally you'd be looking at, on a Ulima scale, probably 17 or above as a minimum. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 would be great. So because they're quite competitive, we do actually look at a range of factors. We look at your grade point average calculation and then a few other things as well. So obviously the better you are academically, because these are high value scholarships, at 50% or 100%, we are looking for high caliber when it comes to your grade point average. So I don't want to scare you, but it is really competitive, and the quality of the applicants that we've had over the years is really quite exceptional. So good to keep in mind. But as I mentioned, there are other UQ scholarships that they're running as well that you might qualify for, some that you don't even need to apply for. But yeah, the better your grade point average, the better opportunities you have. That's one thing to think about. And Camilla, you've asked if business admin students from Ulima apply for the double degree. Absolutely. Administration, I think that one matches quite well with our marketing. It's either marketing or international business that has the a lot of the crossover. So yes, administration, absolutely. Marketing, absolutely. Economics, yes. Accounting, yes. All of those areas are the ones that we've matched for the double degree. Yes. So I think that's, you're welcome. I think that covers all of the, Alexandra, you've also got a question. Fabulous. Is it possible to apply for a student exchange? You can, absolutely. Actually, Alexandra, that's a really good question. There's been some changes to the exchange arrangement, so I'm probably not going to be able to give you a 100% answer to your question at the moment, but you don't have to study at UQ under the double degree. Exchange or study abroad is an option if you just want to do 1 semester or 2 semesters. Certainly contact me and I can give you some more information on what's happening with that situation. But I understand you probably don't really want to study that online. But yes, and sorry, Gonzalo, I've just sent you my email, but I'm just putting my email address into the chat box as well for any of you that may not have seen it in the last slide and you want to get in touch. So yeah, there are other options. You don't have to just study here for a full degree program. And Annabelle, you've also got a question for me as well. Good to see you too. Oh, I love your question as well. So Annabelle is asking if anyone from the University of Lima has received the scholarship. And yes, I'm very happy to tell you, Annabelle, that there have been students from Uni Lima under our partnership who have been awarded scholarship funding. If you saw my little slide I had there for the scholarships, that was actually a Uni Lima student who received a bursary. So I've had different amounts of funding over the years, and we probably had about 3 or 4 students who've received one-off bursary payments. We've had at least 2 students who've received 50% or 100% of their tuition under the Global Leaders banner as well. So yes, we have had students that have been awarded funding from University of Lima. So thank you for asking that. I'm always very excited when I can say that yes, there are students from our partnerships that receive funding. So yes, and as I said, I'm hoping that I'll have good news about some other scholarships just for Uni Lima after after the dean makes some decisions. So if I get any good news, I'll be sharing that with Marcy as well, and we'll be doing a bit of a promotion on that. But at the moment, yes, always good just to check out what's available on the UQ website and apply, because you never know what might happen. And Marcy, I think that's all the questions that I've got in the chat box.
Okay, Laura. So, good work, Laura. We've done it.
We have done it, and I'm really happy to see that so many people are still online. So hopefully you found that informative and, you know, ask me questions and things like that. It's always great. Thank you so much for your interest in finding out about opportunities on the other side of the world. And I hope to meet some of you in person one day, either when I can travel back to South America or, you know, that you come over here to Brisbane. That would be awesome.
Okay. So it has been a nice meeting with a lot of students here. So thank you to all of you for being at this meeting, and whatever you would like to ask, just write to me or write to Laura. We will be very happy to answer you back and having you at UQ. Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Alexandra, Camila, Carlos, Mariluz. Hello. Wow.
Thanks, Marcy. Must be dinner time, I think.
Okay. We're just in time. Don't worry.
Just in time. That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, good. Well, thank you very much. And thanks for those that are still on the line. Good to see you, Marcy. You take care.
Been a pleasure once more, and we will be in touch. I've sent you already Ariana's English certificate, and
Great.
so you can see it. And I will send you her grades. She has just done one of the questions.
Wonderful. Great.
Mhm.
Thanks, Marcy.
Okay.
You take care. Have a good
You
night.
also, Laura. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Chao, Sergio. Muchas gracias. Chao, Sergio.
Chao, chao.
Chao,
Hasta
muchas
luego.
gracias.
No se preocupe.
Ya nos vemos.
Profe
Creo
María,
que ahí se fueron a tomar un
consulta.
cafecito.
Profe,
Alexandra.
quería consultar su correo para preguntarle quizás algunas cositas.
Sí, ahí te lo envío.
Quisiera saber más o menos cuáles serían los requisitos o los requisitos para poder
Escríbeme.
entrar en intercambio.
Okay. Escríbeme y yo te envío el correo con toda la información. ¿Ya?
Ya, profesor. Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Hasta luego.
No, ¿de qué? Chao, Alexandra. Carlos, Camila. Carlos y Camila.